Hi guys, I'm Tom Nguyen.
Tom Nguyen here.
Hey, it's Tom Nguyen. Hi, I'm Tom Nugent.
Tom Nguyen. Tommy Nakajima here.
Hi, I'm Tom Davidson. And let's talk pro comics. Hey guys, it's Tom here, and I thought I'd do another frequently asked questions video while I'm driving. Kind of like I said in a previous video about just trying to be more productive on my boring downtimes of driving. So I thought I'd take the opportunity. So this video today is kind of a follow-up to my previous video. If you recall, my previous video was regarding digital art, specifically on whether you need to get a tablet, purchase a tablet to start learning and practicing. And to summarize, I kind of thought it was a waste of money to do it that way. You're just looking for an excuse to get a fancy piece of technology when anyone can learn just through traditional means, like most of us pros have. This is somewhat of a part 2, and today's subject is how I got into digital art. Now, if we go back to, when I broke in early, even to mid 2000s, I had Photoshop. I had like Photoshop, I don't know what it was, like Photoshop 6 or something like that. But I never really played around with it. Never cared too much. Never did any, photo manipulation even, because back then I wasn't even too into the technical aspects of professional photography like I am now. And back then, I was actually doing a lot more painting than I do now. I mean, nowadays I almost do no painting, traditionally. I'd like to get back into it, but don't have the time. So anyway, back then, some of you who are hardcore followers may recall that I had been doing a series of pinup paintings, like fairly realistic for my style compared to comic books anyway. I had been doing a lot of airbrush painting. I kind of grew up with airbrush painting. I started on it in my teens with acrylics and really enjoyed it. Like I said, if I had the time, I would still do that today. I tell you that because at the time, and this is kind of funny to admit, but I was kind of snobbish. I was kind of a purist as far as, because digital painting was still, I wouldn't say it was new back then. I mean, people were doing illustrations digitally, but it is definitely nowhere near as popular as it is today. And I was one of those artists. I was like, that's cheating. It's too easy. You can click the undo too easily. There's no skill involved anymore in like mixing your paints manually. The nice dirty wet paints. You can just use an eyedropper tool and pick your colors on a whim. And so I was one of those guys, believe it or not. As time moves on and things are moving a little bit more towards digital. Well, I mean, it's definitely moving towards digital now. I found that I had to use Photoshop a little more and a little more over the years. Just little things like scanning pages. Okay, so I scan pages and then I would adjust the contrast in Photoshop. So keep in mind, I was kind of living through the transition of mailing pages traditionally. Like I'm talking FedEx and DHL, like through the mail, original pages. And before we did that, it was highly recommended that we, go to Kinko's and make a photocopy, just in case, just so you have a copy in case something gets lost in the mail. But then over time, DC and Marvel started to go a little more digital. Pencilers were emailing pages to inkers, and inkers would print it out on their large format printers, ink it, scan it in, email it to the colorist or whatever, or we would upload it to the FTP servers. So we would no longer need FedEx, which was great because it saves money. It saves the company's money from paying for the shipment. It saved us time from driving back and forth. It actually bought us more time, typically a day more than we normally would have in deadlines because, remember, you would have to ship the pages one day express earlier than the deadline, just so it would make it to the office in time. Now you can actually work right up to the hour on deadline day. So essentially it bought you an extra day, which is great. Anyway, getting back to using Photoshop more and more, gradually I would end up scanning the pages, adjusting them, And then it went from adjusting and cropping little easy, simple tasks digitally to, I might touch up a piece here. Oh, I saw like a stray mark that I didn't like. So I learned how to use the pencil tool in Photoshop to kind of touch up little areas here and there, clean up things that I might have missed when I originally scanned the artwork. And then touching up became, redrawing little tiny sections if I had to. Eventually, it got to the point where I would be asked by editorial to literally redraw things, like fairly significant changes digitally, just because I had the capability. A couple of examples is one where I had to change the costume on the Flash on, I think it was a double-page spread back a few years ago in an issue of Grodd or something like that for Villains Month. Also had to change the costume on Wonder Woman on one of Doug Mankey's double-page spreads, and I think it was Justice League, I think. Hey! So yeah, anyway, I found myself using digital more and more, throughout my career. And then, I guess, I don't know, maybe somewhere in late 2013, I think my tablet, my Wacom Intuos tablet crapped out. And then that's when I had considered doing something with more of a Cintiq experience. A Cintiq line of tablets is where you draw directly on the screen. I mean, the screen is like, it's on the tablet. So it's like a secondary display. And I didn't want to spend the thousands of dollars for a real Cintiq. So I thought I'd go for like something that's like a similar experience. And at the time, I think it was early 2014, I bought the Microsoft Surface Pro 2. Now, this is still an earlier iteration of the Microsoft Surface Pro line. But I'll have you know that the Surface Pro 2 at the time would be the last one that had the Wacom digital pressure sensitivity technology built in. In fact, I did a blog on it. Maybe I'll link it and you guys can read my experience with it at the time. But yeah, for a little bit of a discount, I was able to get a Cintiq-like tablet drawing experience. And I enjoyed it. I played around with it a little bit, did a few sketches. That was great. Wasn't sure how or if I was ever going to implement it full-time into my work. But anyway, it just so happens that later that year, in late 2014, I was doing a show in North Dakota, in Fargo. And I was driving there since it's a neighbor state, and it would be like a 4 to 5 hour drive from me in Minnesota. And my dad wanted to come along with. He's retired, and he just wanted to tag along because otherwise he'd be bored all weekend at home. So for some reason he wanted to drive, and I'm like, okay, sure, you can drive. So I'm in the passenger seat. I bring my Surface Pro 2 with me. At the time I was working on Catwoman. I was inking over Pat Olive. And I was thinking to myself, man, this is going to be a long 4 to 5 hours. And, I don't want to be unproductive. So I had scanned my pencil pages into my computer. I always do that habitually anyway. And I thought, well, why don't I just kind of try inking in the car in the passenger seat? That's right, in a moving car for 5 hours with my Surface Pro 2. So I whipped out my Surface Pro 2 while my dad was driving, and I pulled up one of the pages and I just started messing around. I think I used Clip Studio Paint too, because I remember people saying you got to download that because it's awesome for drawing, and I played around with it and it was really nice. Just messing around with the tools, kind of finding my way through the user interface, trying to find out what each tool and each button did, and just messing around with it, not really intending for it to be something serious, but just to see if it was possible. And I played around with it. I had a lot of fun, made some mistakes, thank God for the undo buttons. But yeah, for the next 4 to 5 hours until we got to Fargo, North Dakota, I was just kind of inking on a page, just inking away on a professional page. So I really jumped in both feet first into it, just because I kind of felt like I didn't have any other choice in the car. And when I got to the hotel, I continued doing it. I literally had so much fun inking digitally like that I kept it up in the hotel, and I inked all weekend in the hotel after my show appearance, and staying up late at night. Like, for me, it was almost like a rediscovery of inking, And it was the first time I recall in a long, long time that I actually enjoyed inking again. You know, like I could keep doing it forever. My rejuvenated fun in rediscovering inking kept me working digitally at inking. It's like I could recall when I was a teenager and just kind of really getting to the groove and really picking up the strokes and the light bulbs going off, and yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. I get it now. And that's the same kind of experience I had at the time, 2014, with digital inking. I also remember when I posted my blog about working digitally, I ran a contest that month that Catwoman came out, where I started doing some digital inks. And the contest was basically, if you could pick out the digital pages from the traditionally inked pages, I'll actually send you one of the pages as a prize. And no one got it right. So it kind of gave me the confidence to push forward. And it's like, yeah, you know what, I can do this. You know, people really have a hard time assuming that you get really comfortable with the stylus on your tablet and you pick the right brushes and you kind of modify the pressure sensitivity of how hard you press and all that fun stuff, and you can adapt, or you can make the tools adapt to you in the way you like to make your strokes. You can actually make it look pretty convincing. Of course, now digitally it's so fun because you have so many different custom brushes that you can do or other people have done, and you can download and you can emulate all these different types of mediums, and it's just a lot of fun. You know, and since then I have been carrying my tablet and inking and doing my work, drawing and inking on the road ever since, everywhere I go. You know, I used to be really hesitant about it. It's like, oh, you know, I won't have like an original piece to save anymore, but it doesn't matter to me now. I mean, I'm still getting paid for the job, and, you know, honestly, I'm more productive with a tablet because I have that flexibility of working anywhere at any time. And I'm not, it's quite a revelation when you realize you are no longer chained to the physical drawing table at home. You can literally bring your tablet and work anywhere. I do have a funny story though. I remember my first season working on Big Brother for the BB Comics, and I actually did those pieces of artwork traditionally because, you know, when I'm at home, I will still work traditionally. I prefer to work traditionally when I'm at home. But because I'm in that workflow and it's a comic book related assignment, I did those two cover pieces for Big Brother that season traditionally. Now, I didn't expect the amount of notes and changes that would come with working with television and producers. It's a lot more than in comic books. Thankfully, I didn't really have that much. I had like minor notes and changes. But I remember the producers saying to me at the time, now you did work in layers on these, didn't you? And I was like, yeah, I did. So I'm like, oh crap. But thankfully, like I said, the change was pretty minor, and I was able to do it on my tablet in Photoshop anyway. This was actually, I don't even know. No, I mean, I wasn't comfortable working with the Surface Pro 2 yet. I was still working on my Intuos tablet on my desktop computer. So I was able to do the change and submit it, and you know, everyone was happy. But I mean, since then, when you're working in television, anything storyboards, concept art, you have to work digitally. I mean, you really do have to work digitally because there will be a lot of changes. It's just simply not practical or speedy to work traditionally when you're doing television stuff where you're working with a lot of notes and producers and stuff like that. Oh, I gotta switch lanes. Yeah, so that was my first foray into digital. Ever since then, I've been doing quite a bit of digital. I'm quite comfortable now. You know, like I said, my preferred drawing tool is Clip Studio Paint. If you're just mostly drawing comic books, simple stuff, then I highly recommend it. It is the best bang for the buck. For a fraction of what you would pay for Photoshop, you are getting 90% of Photoshop's capabilities. That's what I always say. Photoshop is really a specialized use. Like, you for photo retouching, I really do need Photoshop. Some of their tools, like the cloning tools and the liquify, I really do need that. I am a little more comfortable coloring in Photoshop, although I can do it in Clip Studio Paint now. So it's just a matter of what your intentions are with your artwork, what you're comfortable with, how much money you have. That plays a factor. If you don't have a lot of money, I know Photoshop is a subscription now, but that's like $20 a month or whatever. But Clip Studio Paint, you can get on sale for $50, one and done. That's all you have to pay. So that's how I got into digital art. Like I said, when I'm at home, I still prefer traditional, but I'm actually happy that I was open-minded enough to expand into digital art, and I lost my younger self snobby attitude, my elitist attitude about traditional painting. So that's it. If you have any questions about digital art, anything, topic suggestions, leave a comment, of course. Thumbs up, subscribe, share. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Bye-bye.